Welcome to episode 67 of the Voices of Boyle podcast. Our guest today is Dermot Beggan. Most of you will know Dermot. He's from a small townland outside of Boyle called Smoterna, and today he's the general manager of Lough Key Forest Park. I wanted to get Dermot on to talk about four things. Number one, his journey to becoming manager at Lough Key. Number two, the current state of the park and all the different activities they have out there and how the park has grown over the last few years. Three, I wanted to talk about the exciting plans that they have for the future of Lough Key. Some of these are absolutely amazing. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the Balloon Championship, which will return to Boyle this coming September after many years of absence. Lots of us have amazing memories of the balloons on a crisp, cold September morning, and Dermot does a great job of describing the picture back then and what the return of the balloons is going to do for Boyle. So listen up, enjoy the episode, and thanks a million to Dermot for taking part. Welcome to the Voices of Boyle, Dermot.
Thank you very much, Florence.
Great to have you here on a cold, crisp Tuesday morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Lovely weather, but it's nice to be inside.
It is. Thanks for your time. So Dermot, let's go back, I suppose, to the basics. And can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you came to be the general manager of Lough Key Forest Park?
Yeah, so I suppose I'm local. I was born in Dublin actually, but we moved down when I was 2, so I didn't really have much of the experience of the big smoke. So lived in Smoterna out near Knockvicker, and went to national school in Corrigan Row and then on to St Mary's, which is probably a whole other podcast.
We can do a podcast on that again.
Yeah, but no, listen, great times. St Mary's really was some crack, let's put it that way. But then I always had an interest in sport and kind of recreation, leisure side of things. So after I did my Leaving Cert in 2000, I think we were the final year of the old St Mary's. I don't really know what to do with myself. I hadn't done extremely well in the Leaving Cert, to be fair. I just didn't know what route to go down. So actually my mum, God rest her, she found or she saw an ad in one of the papers locally or something about a PLC course at Lough. So it was to do with sport and recreation. She said, that'll be right up your alley. So I was like, okay, well, we'll give it a lash. So got in anyway, off I went. So I was in Lough for a year doing a PLC in sport and recreation. And that led me then to apply through the CAO for IT Sligo at the time. And it was business and recreation and leisure. So I did 4 years there. So I got a honours degree in that, and then I was off into the big bad world. I suppose I did take, somewhat of a year out. Myself and 4 of the lads from college went to Australia.
Oh,
so it was really great experience, and really enjoyed it. And came home anyway. I just didn't know what to do myself. I had no job, so actually applied for Lough Key. It was just open. It was 2007. So I was actually one of the first employed as part of that newly formed company, Moyler Rockingham. And I was based out of King House here for a little bit, but I was in and out to Lough Key, and I was just doing general kind of maintenance stuff, painted benches and just trying to make the park look nice, I suppose, before the big opening. So once it opened, then I kind of found myself in the role as the Bow de Borg supervisor, which is kind of the escape rooms that we have. So I was there for 4 years, and that I think was somewhere in around the recession years, if I remember correctly. And business wasn't that great at the time, and I think the decision was made by the board and the management at the time to kind of close for the winter months. So we were almost closed from November right through to the end of February, I think it was. And I just kind of said, listen, I'm out of college. I was renting a house in Boyle with a couple of mates. And I was like, this isn't going to sustain me. So I decided, made the decision to leave. I didn't go far actually. I think in the heel hunt, I can't even remember the timeline of jobs I've had, but I did go to Zip It for a while. I was there for probably 2 years. I was in Aura Leisure for about 2 years as well, I'd say, both the lifeguard and like gym instructor. And then I dabbled in a few other little bits. I was working in Battlebridge paintball, on and off at weekends for hens and stags. And then I got into Sausta Fitness, which was in Carrick and Shannon at the time. So it was the vacuum-based treadmills. So I was there for about 5 years, I think. I think after year one, I stepped up into the kind of the manager role. So I was managing the gym, and we'd great old crack, to be honest. Myself and Paul McTiernan and better man for a yarn and a story. So we had good old crack.
Was any work done at all?
Jeez, very little, to be honest. We spent more time just having the crack with the clients, to be honest. So yeah, they were good days. But that kind of was coming to an end, and I kind of had a feeling in my own head that, you know, this isn't something that's going to sustain itself and probably won't last. I think everyone kind of saw it as a bit of a fad. Now it did work, and you know, I'll hold my hand up and say, like, it definitely did work, and you know, we helped a lot of people out. But I just kind of made the decision then that, you know, I was going to seek something further. So that brought me to a role I saw advertised in a local paper, and it was for a leisure facilities manager in Centre Parks. So Centre Parks was just starting; it hadn't even opened. And I went up to Longford and I did 2 interviews, got the position, and then the actual village itself was still under construction when we landed. So we were kind of being ferried here, there, and everywhere by bus with hard hats and boots and all that kind of stuff. So I think that role, I was there for 4 years, coming just nearly 5 years. I just missed out my 5-year Centre Parks badge. I was raging. But so I was part of the implementation team there in Centre Parks to get my unit up and running, which was the leisure facilities. So I was the head of department for that. So we looked after all the indoor, outdoor courts. If anyone's been to Centre Parks, they'll know the sports plaza adjacent to the sports bar. So anything in and around that was kind of what I was looking after with my team. So yeah, that just exploded. Like Centre Parks it just hit the ground running.
It really took off, didn't it?
I think there's some crazy stat there just before I left, and I'd say it's the same to this point, that it's 98% occupied all year round.
Wow. So
there are literally about 4 lodges vacant at any time of the year on any break, and they are just for emergencies, you know, should something happen, like, you know, a water leak or a burst pipe or something. So absolutely mental how busy it is there. So
was it stressful, Dermot?
Yeah.
It's quite a big role, big place.
So when I look back on it now, you know, even the because I'm living just outside Coothall, and the travelling up and down every day, so it took me an hour to get there. I'd leave at like 6:20 in the morning, get in for 7:30, and then I would leave at 4, and I'd be rushing back down the road, you know, to collect my two boys from after school or whatever, for 5 o'clock. And, you know, between myself and my wife, Grace, like, we were just kind of run ragged doing both, because to be fair, Grace took the boys every morning for nearly 4 years, got them ready for school and all that. So, you know, it was tough going with the travel, and the stress of it being so busy was kind of taking its toll. But it's only really now that I look back on it that I think, you know, for where I am now compared to where I was in
when
Centre
you're in
Parks.
it, in a lot of cases, you don't see it.
You kind of get it just takes over, and you just, there was no downtime either. You know, I was constantly getting bombarded with emails and messages late at night about, you know, somebody didn't turn up for work, or who are we going to get to close the unit, or, you know, certain parameters and specifics that had to be adhered to by the company. You know, there had to be someone of a senior level to close and open the unit and this kind of stuff. So yeah, it was quite stressful. But but like enjoyable too at the time. It was something so new, and to be involved in the whole implementation of getting the village ready and, opening and, to see how well it's done. I'm proud of that and proud of the unit. And I just, I was traveling like 10 hours extra a week, 2 hours a day, 5 times a week. It's a whole extra day on top of your week as well. And then, not seeing the kids as much as well was kind of, because they're at that age, where like they're great crack, like they're 8 and 5 now, so they're good old crack. They're full on.
You want to be in their company.
Yeah, yeah. They're
have the laugh and
the laugh, and so and you'd miss things then, just even the small things, around having breakfast and stuff like that. The crack that goes on with them, absolutely tearing lumps out of each other and all that kind of crack. So, sometimes I didn't mind missing it. But, the opportunity came along then. I'd kind of been looking for something closer to home at that stage, for nearly 5 years into Central Parks, and the opportunity arose because, to be fair, I kind of been sending Louise Fitzpatrick, who was the outgoing manager of Lough Key, and she was there 16 years. And she's done a fantastic job. Like what I've come into, it's really, it's cemented and it's, it's steady. But I had been badgering Louise. Well, I won't say badgering her, but I'd sent her off a couple of emails and says if there's any opportunities coming up that you think might suit, I'd love to get back into Lough Key. And having been there for 4 years, I felt I kind of still knew the place, still knew the business model. So she actually she'd sent me an email to say that she was thinking of leaving and she had an opportunity coming up herself, and just to keep an eye out. So I did, and I saw that the role had become vacant. So I applied. I did 2 interviews for that, both online, and then I think it was shortly after Christmas 2023. 24, sorry, that so last year, that they gave me the call and said, you're in. So I was like, geez, I couldn't believe it. Like, I was like, this was meant to happen, I think.
Fantastic.
So that's kind of that's how I got to be
that's
where I am.
That's how you got to be where you are.
So there you go.
And Dermot, what a full circle, back there in 2017, painting the benches for the opening and things like that, and then coming back in 2024 for such a big role. Yeah. No, it was great. And I've said that to everyone's kind of like full circle. Anyone that kind of remembered me back then, knocking around in Lough Key, and we had a great crew back then, great crew workers, and we were all such mates, and now all of them have like moved on, but and any of the kind of locals that remember me back there, it's kind of a full circle moment. So I'm delighted that I am where I am now. Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, Louise retired obviously last year and from Lough Key, but she did fantastic things.
Yeah.
When the announcement came out, there was a lot of comments on social media and that about, how thankful people were for what she had done over the years.
Yeah, no, she really built a great kind of sense of community, I think, in Lough Key. Even with all the clubs that are associated, like the triathlon club and the swim club and park run, all these different clubs that use Lough Key as a base, and they're more than welcome to continue that. Like I've already thrown it out there to them that I'll have the same approach. It's the people's park. It is something for the community of Boyle and surrounds. So if ever there's anything that someone wants to kind of approach me with, be it mad or not mad, at least you can come and ask the question, and sure, you never know what will happen. Open ideas, you never know what will happen. It's just such a brilliant amenity to have, like on our doorstep.
Brilliant. That's nice to know. So anyone that's listening that has an idea,
within reason.
Well, they can bring it to the table anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So I suppose everyone that's listening from Boyle will know the history of Lough Key. We had Trina Lanny Dignam or McQuaid on the podcast, and she gave us an amazing rundown of the whole history, so we won't go into that. But obviously most people that are listening are from Boyle, they will know the park. But for anyone that's not listening that might be new to Boyle, can you tell us and give us a quick overview of Lough Key and kind of what's out there?
Yeah, so I suppose Lough Key itself is just it is owned and run by Quilcha, essentially, bar the surrounds of the visitor centre. So we have a full visitor centre with a lakeside cafe. It's a 50, 60-seater cafe. We have an outdoor terrace. You can enjoy your coffees and teas out there.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's great to have. And just the views on it are unbelievable. Overlooking McDermott's Castle and Castle Island and the harbour. And you have... So we have a couple of different attractions in Lough Key as well. Now it's kind of the place where you can do as much or as little as you want. Like, it's not full on, but it's full on if you want it to be. So we have a couple of like third party operators in Lough Key as well. I'll just start by mentioning them. So we have Zip It, which is, hugely popular. It's the aerial ropes course. So that's for ages 7 up, I believe. They have like 5 different levels of courses for degrees of difficulty. So that's a real good family day out, or friends, or, groups of friends or whatever. Corporate building, all that kind of stuff.
And is that, Dermot, seasonal?
So it is seasonal, yeah. So they will close kind of at the end of October, and they'll reopen kind of mid-February for the midterm.
Mid-February.
Yeah, ish. Now they have their own website.
Yeah.
You can link it through ours, loughkey.ie. So if you want more information on any of our attractions or activities, that's where you go, loughkey.ie. You'll find us on social media as well, which is probably where we keep most up to date in terms of what's happening day to day. But yeah, Zip It are great to have on board. They offer that kind of adventure, thrill-seeking kind of activity. Then we have Porrick P-Max Kayaks. So he does a lovely little trip around the lake. So it's well worth, looking into that. So he takes you out kayaking and pier jumping, and he's a great man for the crack as well. He does have some good old stories, so he kind of makes it more personable when you're on the little trips with him. So he's set up down there in Lough Key. Then we have the 2 new lads that have just joined us on board, Darren and Shane. So they are operating Key Saunas, which is a Finnish style wood barrel sauna, and in the most amazing location, I think. I think you've been, Florence, so you'll vouch for it.
Oh, yeah. It's as I said, you could travel all over the world and you wouldn't get a view like it. Yeah. So it's just the back of it faces out onto the castle, and it's picture perfect. Yeah,
it's really nice, and they've a lovely job done there with the wood chip on the ground and all that. So they've just used the area there for their, when you're going in for your cold dip. So they have a nice little ramp down, and it's easy access in. And it's enough away kind of from the hustle bustle of the centre that you're kind of private, but it's not hard to find either. So I think the lads, I think they're onto something good there.
I
hopefully.
Think so. Yeah.
So those are the 3 kind of external or third party operators we would call them, but we work very closely with them. And then from the visitor centre, then we have our own 3 attractions. So starting with the Bodeborg, so that is our escape rooms. It's, if you want to compare it to anything, it is the largest one in Ireland. It's got 47 rooms, and each room has a different challenge or puzzle that you must complete to progress through. Now they're all broken down into different a sequence of rooms, so they would have 3 to 5 rooms within each kind of, we call them quests. So each quest is themed then, so it's really good that some of them are just mental puzzles and some of them are more physical, so you get to choose which ones you do. It's not that we just throw you into some mad physical room and say go for it,
get out.
yeah find your way out there.
I've actually done it. Yeah.
So it's really good. It's really popular. It's indoors. It's for Ireland. It's just, you can't beat it. It's just a great bit of crack for a couple of hours. So if you haven't done it, book it.
Yeah.
It's well worth it.
Yeah, we did it. I think there was 4 of us, but again, really enjoyed it. As you said, it's a mix of physical and mental, and it's amazing how the brain works. Like it's just, it gets to you. You
Yeah.
know, it's like what was that program
The
years
Crystal
ago? The
Maze.
Crystal
Yeah.
Maze. That's it.
Yeah. It's probably a little bit more frustrating. The language coming out of that place sometimes is
Yeah.
couldn't repeat it. But at the end of it though, it is good crack. But it's about working together. Like, and if your idea isn't working on what you think, then it's about trying to listen to someone else's idea and see does that work. But no, so that's one of our main attractions. We have the Adventure Play Kingdom, which is our outdoor playground for kids up to the age of 12. So that's really popular, you know, when the weather's good. And, you know, that's an all-day pass, so you can come in and out as much as you want. It's €5 per child, so I think it is great value. And then we have the Rockingham Remember Tour. So as you alluded to there, Trina would have given you a huge amount of information on, you know, the house itself and the history of it. So this tour brings you through the old underground tunnels, up the Moylurk Tower, which has just amazing views from the top, and then back down a second tunnel towards the lake, and you wind your way back through to the centre then on the treetop canopy walk, which was at the time in 2007 Ireland's first. And I'm going to say it's still the best.
Yeah.
I'm biased.
Yeah.
So
you're allowed to be.
Yeah, and all that can be done. It's self-guided, so you can take your time. Takes maybe about 40 minutes if you kind of ramble around. But there's an audio guide that goes with it as well, so you can
Brilliant.
you can listen to the audio of the story as you progress through the walk itself. So yeah, there are attractions. You know, visitor centre. We've, you know, obviously toilets. You know, reception area. We've ice cream, coffees, confectionery. We've a little gift shop. So there's loads going on. So if you haven't been, like, it's a place you have to come.
You could spend the day, as
Absolutely,
you said.
yeah.
You could pop out, have a cup of coffee, like, or enjoy the views, or you could literally spend the whole weekend, really.
You could, yeah. We have the campsite as well.
Yeah.
I nearly forgot about that, yeah. So we have a caravan and campsite with 50 hard stand pitches and 2 tenting areas. So all pitches have, all the hard stands have electric points. So, you know, they're all each individual pitch is kind of nestled in the trees. It's really lovely. It's really private. It's 5-minute walk from the visitor centre and the lake. There's so much to do. You know, it's a great place for families to come and stay for a couple of nights or whatever, and, you know, just use all the activities and the attractions, you know, not just in Lough Key, but come into Boyle, you know, food, drink, go crack, you know. So we have that as well. It's another string to our bow.
Brilliant, Dermot, because there's few places, like, just even listening there for all of the different things, there's few places in Ireland that have that amount of attractions and has the caravan park and the facilities that you have.
Yeah,
like,
so
it'd be very, very unique in that sense.
Yeah, it would be. In most places, I suppose they cater for day trips only. And like Lough Key is perfect for that. You know, if you're just in the area, just to pop out and spend the day, you know yourself growing up, for, like, I spend days out in Lough Key and I only live over the road. Like, you know, you'd be just down there with your mates and you'd be swimming and, you know, cycling your bike and messing, kicking football and having a picnic or whatever it may be. So all that is still there, and, you know, the grounds are absolutely free to use. We have a lovely AstroTurf pitch as well, which is for a community pitch, and it's free to use, and it's open all year round. So, you know, that's another thing we got in. I didn't, to be fair, it was in Louise's time, but it was great to get that through funding. So that's there as well. So we have a little soccer pitch and the whole lot.
Brilliant.
You know, if you wanted to come out and just kick a ball around and just use the facilities in the park itself.
And it's lovely in the summer. You know, people do go out just to even use the pitch, and they bring out their little barbecues, and you have the benches set up there for the barbecues. Yeah. Yeah, it's great to see it being used. I think in the last few years it's really opened itself up in so many ways, and it's really been utilised now.
Yeah, no, it's great. And it's just like, it's obviously we're a company and we're self-sufficient, and so I think some people believe that we're not, but we absolutely are self-sufficient. So what we make is what we have, and costs are rising from overheads and labour. Minimum wage has gone up again since January, so we've really had to kind of look at our own business model and where we're at. So people coming in to use the park, absolutely no problem at all, because normally we will get a spin off from either a cup of coffee or
exactly,
and it's great that we have the support of the community, and they do support us and they're very loyal, and we want to acknowledge that, I suppose, and I suppose say thanks as well for the support that people do give Lough Key, because it means a lot, and I suppose without them then we wouldn't have that facility. If that business or the model fails, then there will be no visitor centre, or those attractions will be gone. So we need to keep it moving, and we need to keep building, and we need to kind of look to the future. But all the while, it is a business, and that's where my kind of brain comes into it. I love the park as the park, but like I have a role now to kind of keep it as it is, and even grow it even more. And that's kind of where my business brain comes in, I suppose.
Yeah, and I think that's what everyone wants, Dermot. Like, they want to see it thriving, because if there's no profits, the whole thing dies.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like any
and
business.
It goes back to being one big green area,
Yeah, exactly.
And I suppose for locals as well, just on that note, they can actually get the yearly parking ticket.
Yeah, so the annual fee,
I think
I could be controversial here now. It's actually going to be rising slightly.
Well, it's well worth it. I got it there, was it last June, July?
Yeah.
And it's for the full year.
Yeah, so it's unlimited use. It's an annual pass. It's from February, which is probably when this will go out after, but it will be €50 for the year, which essentially is like 10 visits.
Yeah.
Now most people that have them use it a lot more, and even at 10 visits it's great value for money. Unlimited use, as said, in and out, and you have the secure knowledge of the park, and we've had to install the barriers for security. We have security on site at night, we have CCTV, and then a lot of the fee for the park and goes to the maintenance of the grounds. So we have 3 lads, we have 2 full-time maintenance lads, 1 part-time. We have the cost of the lawnmowers, the tractors, the petrol, we've streamers, we've all the equipment that we need to keep the place nice and tidy and looking well for people to enjoy. But that comes at a price.
Yes.
It's not free, and as I said, it is a business at the end of the day, so it has to kind of wash its own face.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, but the annual pass is definitely worth it.
Yeah, for locals, I think it's so handy.
Really worth it, yeah.
And you're big on events, Halloween, Christmas, summer, then you have a lot of events on as well. It's brilliant, Dermot, for families.
Yeah, we try to put on, like, within reason as much as we can. So we have Night and Day Festival again this year. This will be the 3rd year running in Lough Key. It will be bigger and better this year again. We are currently planning kind of stage areas and how it will look. So the arena area and, parking and camping and all that. I believe all the, we call it luxury camping, which just means you're in the campsite and you have power.
It is a luxury, in fairness.
And toilets.
Compared to just the tent.
Well, it's a luxury at a festival. So all those are sold out.
Brilliant.
And then the non-luxury is pretty much almost sold out, which is in the back car parks.
Fantastic.
So yeah, there's quite a lot of tickets sold already, and that's only off the back of last year's success. There was early bird tickets, and people are like, I don't care who the lineup is, we're going. We had such a good time. It's so family friendly. It was really good, and they announced the first acts just before Christmas, I believe, and the next one is out in the mid February. So we'll know more about that, but.
And what's the dates for that, Dermot?
So that is the last weekend in June.
June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think it was the same last year, was it?
yeah, I think it's one day. So it's the 27th, I believe, or 28th of June. So it's the Friday. It's the Friday, the Saturday, and the Sunday. So it's a 3-day festival now, whereas it was 3 days last year, right? But it was 2 days the year before. So they're just trying to build it a little bit. But a 3-day festival is, I think it's just perfect.
Yeah.
You don't want any longer really, because it just kind of drags on. But yeah, the act announcements should be good. I do know one that I can't tell you. But depends when this goes out, I suppose. But,
we might know by then.
Well, you might know
we
by
might.
then. Yeah. But
we don't know as of today.
Yeah. When I heard it, I was like awful excited.
Oh, really?
Well, like maybe it's just my taste in music, but I was
Okay.
like, oh yeah, brilliant. Yeah,
Brilliant.
Yeah, really.
So it's today. Well, I suppose it's what, 20th of January or 21st of January. So
Yeah.
it's coming soon.
It'll be out soon. Yeah.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit about the balloons. So for those that don't know, the balloons used to operate around Boyle. Carlo reckons from 1989 to about 1996. Now, he's very good with dates, but he could be corrected on that. To me, it seems like a long time. 7 years?
No, he could be right.
Yeah.
He could be very close. Yeah.
Well, he is good with dates. So I wouldn't question him now unless you have evidence of it.
Yeah.
But they used to be in Boyle, and we all have memories of the balloons. Crisp September mornings on the way to school. All I remember, I suppose, you remember all the good things, but blue skies and just these pops of colour everywhere. It was fantastic. So the 53rd Irish Hot Oon Balloon Championships are coming back to Lough Key this year.
Yeah.
Feels like they're almost coming home.
Yeah.
And they're going to take place from the 20th to the 26th of September. The event kicks off on the Saturday with flights planned for 7 a.m. in the morning and 5:30 in the evening for the week, weather permitting, of course. So that's huge news, Dermot.
Yeah. So I suppose, where do I start on that? That was one of the first things when I went into the role almost a year ago. I was like, I would love to get the hot air balloons back. Like, it's my one childhood memory, and it just brings you back. Like, I suppose I keep saying the word nostalgia, but that's what it is. I was like, I would love to get this. I was thinking, like, this would be so popular around Boyle. And I suppose I just went about it like I was hardly in the seat, and I was like emailing the Hot Air Balloon Association, and I was trying to get the contact and who do I get in touch with and all this kind of stuff. So I eventually nailed down Laura is her name, and she emailed me back, and I was like, what do I need to do to get this back? And she was like, well, firstly, we'd love to come back. So I was like, okay, well, tick. So that was kind of that just cemented to me that, like, we could do this. Now, look, the reasons they left way back then was down to cost and insurance, and there was a kind of lot around that. So basically, she came back to me with kind of the costings of what it would take to bring them back, and how would it look? What did we need to do from our side? What were they looking for? So we were back and forth with emails and phone calls, and I actually contacted then Lisa Joy in Roscommon County Council. So Lisa is the tourism officer for Roscommon, and we had been on a trip to just before that through Cologne and Bergamo. So we were doing it through Fáilte, Ireland. It was to showcase kind of Ireland's hidden heartlands to Italian and German markets, and it was like a week-long event. So we were flying from Knock to Germany, and then Germany to Milan and back. So there was a couple of us. We were Strokestown House, Origna Mines. So we were just kind of showcasing the best of kind of North Roscommon, and so I kind of got to know Lisa over that week. So, it was great to have that contact then. So when I contacted Lisa, she was like, okay, let me see what I can do. So I almost pitched to her like what this would mean to Boyle and the area. because I don't think like Lisa's from down the corner. I think she's Tipperary, but she didn't really know much about them. I was just trying to like I was trying to get this vision out of my head and into hers, of what they were like. So I pitched it to her and she's like, right, strong pitch, let me go back and see what I can do. So she talked to her people and she came back and she said, okay, well, look, we can part fund this. So they gave almost 3/4 of the funding. So we were like just blown out of the water. We were like delighted that this. So we went back to them and they were like, okay, let's nail it down and we'll do it. So that was it. Like I was awful excited, but then I couldn't really say anything about it until they kind of announced it, because it had to come from the Ballooning Championship side to announce it. It wasn't our thing to announce, in case they changed their mind or something. So yeah, that was it. We got the word then, and we had an official launch then in the park. God, I'm so bad with dates, but it was at the end of summer sometime. Yeah,
the end of June, kind of.
Yeah,
we just missed it.
So we had that, and got the crowds.
Oh, stop!
The crowds out there, and we were only launching 2 balloons, and like again, as you said there, it's so weather dependent, and we didn't even know if we were going to get them off the ground, but we said we'd try anyway, because the crowds, we just couldn't disappoint them. Like, so, God, there must have been 400 or 500 people out in the park just to see these 2 balloons going up.
And that's just for the launch.
That was just a launch of 2 balloons. We didn't even have anything extra on. We didn't have, any kind of activities or anything else. So, yeah, it was great, and it was great to see. And like, hopefully that's like a precursor to what will turn up every morning and evening in Lough Key to see these balloons launched in September. Because if it's anything like that, like, it'll be amazing. It's such a spectacle.
Fantastic news.
Yeah.
God, it's been a long time now since there's been widespread excitement about something. I think everybody was talking about it.
Yeah.
And it'll be a week-long event, as you said, Dermot, and there'll be morning flights and evening flights, please God, if the weather's good.
Yeah.
And is there anything else that you have planned as part of it, like, I don't know, like activities or anything extra, or is that still in the early stages? Yeah,
we're kind of just we're still in the early stages of that. So I suppose we just have to kind of play it by ear. And for now, you have to remember, like, it is during school term as well. So, we're hoping people will come out, if they don't get out in the morning, that they get out in the evenings. Like, I remember, as a kid, like, our house, my home house in Smoterna overlooks Lough Key. So I can actually see the top of the tower from our front window right across the lake. So I just remember, like, as you said, described, cold, crisp September mornings, like, and not a breath of air. And I could hear the train horn from Boyle all the way across from the house. But I just remember the balloons, you could hear the burners before you saw them. And you could just hear that, and then next thing you just see this, like, coloured, amazing spectacle just coming up over the tree line. And then you're hoping and praying that the wind is coming your direction, that they'd come over the house or something, And I remember, like, one day grabbing the bike and the balloons were coming our way, and I was like, I'm gone. Like, just took off. I was probably only like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Just took off down the road on the bike after these balloons, and they landed in a field down the road. I just couldn't get over this. Like, it was amazing. And I threw the bike on the road and ran in, and then they used to give us stickers and these little pin badges, I remember, and I used to try and go around and collect them. And I remember the Club Orange balloon, and that was probably the most memorable one. And there was so many.
The Chronicle, Carla was telling me. I couldn't remember the Chronicle,
I remember that,
but he remembers the Chronicle.
Yeah.
And what other one was there? The Fanta balloon. That's the one I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
And is it just, I don't have no clue, because I can't remember, but is it a competition or is it just showcasing? Like,
well, they have competitions between themselves. I don't think the public really care what they're doing.
As long as they're flying.
Yeah, but they actually do. They have like a hare and hound race. So one balloon takes off and the rest of them follow.
Brilliant.
And then he lands and they have to try and land as close to him as possible. So, he could descend down, and then last minute, everyone else starts to drop, and then last minute he could say, "I'm not landing here," and he could be gone back up again. So
Brilliant.
they kind of have to just follow his movements. They used to have one then. See, could drop the basket on the lake or something years ago. Yeah,
they were saying of because we were talking about it, that there was a key or something
to a car,
and they had to drop like literally on the lake and pick up the key, and then they won whatever it was. Or,
I remember that. Yeah,
but I suppose they'll do their own thing in that sense.
So they'll have like a little internal competition between the balloonists, and that just makes it kind of bit of crack for them instead of just going up and flying and landing. Do you know what I mean? So I suppose the only thing is, it's not like the public aren't going to get flights in the balloons. I suppose if you know someone, it'd be great. If you knew a balloonist, I'm sure you could get up. But I managed to get a go on the launch day, so that was amazing. Yeah, great experience. I suppose if anyone's been in a balloon, it's just it's this deafening silence. It's so weird. Yeah. But it was a really good experience until we got landed in a bog and took about 3 hours to get home. But I suppose that's the flip side of it.
But the view was worth it.
Yeah, it was for a while. I wasn't too happy trying to get out of this field. But anyway,
and will there be tickets, Dermot? Because I remember a couple of years ago I was going to go to them in Burcastle, but you had to buy tickets.
No, this is a free event.
Brilliant.
Look, all we ask is that like the public would, park in appropriate bays and the appropriate areas, that it's safe for everybody, because there'll be a lot of kids around, and so like that contribution would be massive for us. Like we there is a cost to us to have the balloons as well. So if people can contribute, people could contribute to that and just adhere to, I suppose, the rules of the park, and that'd be great and much appreciated. Yeah, makes our life a little bit easier, and everyone can safely watch the balloons. But in terms of, are we going to have anything else? We may do. We may have face painters, or we might put something else on, especially on the weekend. The 2 days over the weekend. Yeah. But yeah, we're really looking forward to it. I can't wait. I'm awfully excited for it.
Yeah. And the weather, I hate to even talk about it, but the weather's normally good that time of year.
Yeah, September's normally steady.
It is. Yeah, so, when the kids go back to school and that, normally we get a little bout of good weather. So
fingers crossed.
It'll be fantastic, and it'll bring back so many memories for people as well from years ago, because they were just such a highlight of the year for everybody.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't get up close to them, just looking up and seeing them in the sky was enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think, people at, I suppose, my age, our age, Florence, you're probably a bit younger than me.
A small bit. Not much, though.
Like, it's just a vivid memory, isn't it?
And it is.
It's something I will never forget. Like, that memory from my childhood just is, forefront.
Yeah.
And it's the sound.
The sound of the...
Yeah. So it's all the senses, like, you just remember.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't see a balloon, but you heard that sound, it'd bring you straight back.
Yeah.
The sound of the gas and stuff.
Exactly. And it's something we never see here, so it'll be...
Yeah. Well, it's great. Spectacle. No, it's great to get them back. And, like, hopefully then we can kick on from there. And I won't promise anything for next year because I can't yet. But,
well, fair play to you for getting in and having the idea and getting on the email and making it happen, because it will make such a difference to the summer for a lot of people.
I think so, yeah.
And there's kids, obviously, now, even your own kids, that will get to experience what you experienced when you were young. So
and hopefully,
that brings magic as well.
Hopefully when they get to my age, and they'll remember them as well, as vividly as I do, and it'll just bring a bit of a smile to your face, and like, oh geez, the balloons are class, like everyone loved them. No one didn't like them,
Yeah. You'll be sitting in your chair when you're like 80. I brought the balloons back.
Yeah. That'll be my claim to fame.
That'll be your claim to fame.
I thought I might do a bit more with myself.
That's good enough, Dermot. So I suppose we'll touch a little bit before we wrap up on the future of Lough Key. And I know you have a strategic plan in place at the minute, but can you just tell us a little bit about that and what you hope for the future?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, again before my time, so Louise had started with the board of Moyle Rockingham to devise a master plan about the future of Lough Key. So it was about, sustaining it and growing it, and making it even more popular than it is. So this master plan came about. It actually kind of fell off the wayside through COVID. It kind of fell off a cliff, and then got kind of rejuvenated then again once post COVID. So I've kind of come in at the early stages of it, but at the moment we are in the design phase of a master plan and concepts around the future of Lough Key. We have secured funding from the EU via Just Transition funding. So we have almost, I think it's 1.8 million we've been awarded initially, stage one, and that is for the design and planning phase. So the ball is rolling, things are happening, but I can't really give you more than that because I'm not even in the loop with the design yet because it hasn't been finalised. Once that happens, it will go to planning, and all going well, we'll get through fairly, quickly, and we can begin kind of construction phase. Now, what are the concepts? Well, number one, they're on our website. Visually, it's easier to see, but there's a couple of ideas in there, and I'm not promising that these will all happen because it will depend on the planning and design. And I think that throws up, things aren't straightforward when it comes to all that building. So some of the concepts are around, kind of repurposing the stable yard. So can we take off the asbestos roof? It's three sides of asbestos roof. So the front of the building that you'll see is lovely slates. That was already done through heritage funding, and we have all the sash windows will be done by the end of this year. So they'll all be redone and will look brand spanking new. But there is asbestos on three sides, so we need to get rid of that, which probably would be a huge cost anyway, and something that needs to be done very professionally. But the whole idea of the stable yards is to use the little bays, little archways and rooms off them as kind of like an activity hub. So we are looking to get in more kind of activity providers. So we've actually just last week, so what are we now? Middle of January, an ad has gone out for expressions of interest for activity providers to come in. Throw your hat in the ring, throw your hand up. What activities do you provide? What's your ideas? I suppose it's just to get a web of ideas and see what comes out of it. Some of the concepts are around, an iconic zip line off the top of the tower, either back down towards the Zippet cabin or across the lake actually onto Drummond's.
Wow.
Which would make it the largest zip line in Europe, or the longest, sorry. And then there are concepts around using the tower itself to kind of, I suppose, take away the ugliness of it. So it's to face two or three sides, and one side would be a climbing wall, another side would be like a vertical maze, and another side could be like abseiling.
That in itself would be amazing, just to make use of that.
Yeah, so it's to kind of utilise what's there. It's not about building huge new buildings or anything like that. It's kind of like, it's just to kind of repurpose what's already there, and just add to the activities and the attraction of Lough Key. There's another one about a floating boardwalk that will kind of almost mirror the tree canopy walk along that shoreline. So that would, you would walk on water and then essentially up into the trees, and it would just be a looped walk.
Wow.
There's concepts around an aqua park, similar to Hudson Bay, but not on that scale, something smaller. And then, they want to repurpose the front lawn area, so that the area that goes down to the lake at the front where Walsh's boats are, and they want to just kind of landscape that as a whole kind of family zone. So take away the park, and at the front just have it all great grass and, a kind of communal area for picnics and families and all that kind of stuff. So there's a couple of different ideas around maybe using where the Moyler Tower is, using that basement as kind of like a stage area, so a stretch canopy, almost to make it kind of some kind of like concert arena area, or you could host events or stage events there. I'm trying to think what other concepts.
That would be amazing, because I was actually, just while you were talking there, I was going to say that to you about that basement area when Chris O'Dowd had his launch of Moonboy there. It was so nice. So they had the little stage set up, and then some people brought their picnic chairs, other people just brought blankets, and they gave their speeches, and that, it was fab.
So that's kind of the idea, is that would be, say you have all your activities happening on the tower, in the tower, on top of the tower, whatever, that area then will be kind of like half covered with a stretch canopy or some kind of retractable roof canopy. You'd have your seating areas here, you'd have little, coffee docks. So it'd be like kind of family zone area where the activities are happening, and you could just watch your kids, do the climb a wall or whatever it may be. And then it's to utilise that space then, after hours, say, if we've events that we can host, concerts or,
even just functions.
Functions, weddings. There's so much you could do with
it. Like parties, I suppose that's one thing we are lacking in Boyle, is function area.
Yeah.
That if you're having a birthday party or an anniversary or a wedding or whatever, just an area where you can gather and maybe get outside catering in or something like that would be amazing.
Yeah, so that's kind of the concept.
Brilliant.
As I said, nothing is written in stone with these things. But look, there's a couple of other areas and ideas floating around. Maybe putting a roof on the church. Again, that will open that up to events, ceremonies, whatever. And then kind of repurposing the kind of that main area out the front of the visitor centre, that kind of triangular area there, just as kind of like a family zone as well. So maybe stalls, little markets, little craft shops. There's loads of things you could do. It just really depends on the design, the infrastructure, the services that are available and can be available. But as I said, that's all in the pipeline at the minute, so I can't really say much more.
Yeah, but they're great ideas, just even what you went through there.
Yeah.
And Dermot, that's a long-term play then, that would be.
Yeah. So just on that as well, like I think one of the easier wins would be that the visitor centre will be expanded. So that's something that's probably highly likely. I'm not going to say it's definite, but they would likely expand the cafe, because actually it's kind of outgrown the numbers. So, on a busy bank holiday in August, like the place is absolutely heaving and there's nowhere for people to sit. We've actually used the Moyler room, which is our conference room, as overflow from the cafe. So, but it's distinctly not part of the cafe. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But people don't mind. They go in, they sit in there, they eat, whatever. But it's just like an overflow. So we've had to use that numerous times. Even if you get a large crowd on a Saturday morning for Park Run, we've often had to, push open the Moyler room and let them sit in there. So I think expanding the visitor centre is definitely one that's in the pipeline. And it's an easy win, I think, because, the planning and design around that should be fairly easy. So that's definitely something to look forward to. And hopefully I might get a nice new office out of it.
Well, you deserve it after getting the balloons back.
Well, I'll take it. Yeah, I'll take that.
Brilliant. So the future is bright for Lough Key, which is great news for everyone from Boyle, because it's on our doorstep. So I suppose that's it, Dermot. We'll wrap up at that. But is there anything else that you'd like to talk about that we haven't touched on already?
I don't think so. No, I think
we've
pretty much all covered. Yeah. I'm all good with everything that we discussed. So thanks
Brilliant.
Very much. Thanks for having me.
Not at all. And I suppose we'll list in the description of the podcast all the different websites and things that we've talked about, all the activities. And if you have any ideas or anything like that, like Dermot said, he's the man.
Thanks very much.
Thanks,
I'll be bombarded.
You will. Thanks, Dermot.
No problem. Thank you very much.